Hi, everyone. Um, yeah. That was a shit show. A shit show. A shit show. Oh my God. That was a fucking shit show. uh, so, what I find to be the most amusing about all of it actually is the fact that what do I find amusing about that? Let me think about this for a second. I had all this stuff. I was bubbling over, right? I was just like completely bursting afterwards. But I had to calm myself down because I would have railed into everybody involved. Um, but the first thing I want to say is that Chris Wallace, the mediator, I felt that he was not exactly the most fair. I definitely didn't feel like he was fair. Which it felt very slanted to me, and that was the first thing I noticed is that um, he was kind of rude, and he kept allowing Biden to speak and and then Trump was interrupting every 5 seconds. I mean, he literally was angry about something, and you could see that he was pissed off. And I realized that they probably, right before he went on stage, they probably did something, but they did find out that Clinton was behind the Russia investigation thing and that she pushed it or something. And I'm sure he was super pissed about that, obviously. Um, and I could just tell he was so pissed off. You can tell when he's pissed and then when he's like normal, right? And he was definitely pissed. Um, and so he kept interrupting and he kept like talking over, but then Joe was talking over and Joe was, basically all he did was slander. He did a couple things. Joe appealed to the American public and he was looking at the camera, which is meaning that he had to look at the teleprompter to read everything he was saying. And you could tell that he was reading when you look at his eyes. And he was like appealing to the American public, right? Um, but then there were all these things that Trump kept bringing up that he like skirted around the entire time. He wouldn't speak to it. He wouldn't like man up and talk about what Trump was bringing to his attention, like Hunter Biden and all these other things, right? And he just like shoved it off as if it was nothing and that, you know, he had no like solid anything. Um, he did, however, talk about the environmental issues, and he said it was the Biden plan rather than the Green New Deal. It was the Biden deal. And so, on a certain level, in terms of his demeanor, he was calmer and he kept his composure for the most part. Um, but they just kept arguing with each other and talking over each other, and it was absolutely insane. Like it was so toxic, dude. It was so toxic. Toxic. However, having said all that, I still feel like there were no talking points that one of the things that was really hard for me to like stomach was the fact that they kept bringing up all this stuff against Trump and they made those talking points and Trump's performance as opposed to the actual talking points. So I feel like they were slanted in their presentation of these talking points and the presentation of the information that was actually valuable to the American people. Um, it was strange. It was like you could tell that it was being slanted and that it was mainstream media and that they were trying to influence the outcome of this debate very heavily. And that bothered me because in a debate, it should be a fair and square interaction between two people and their talking points for their presidency. But what ended up happening was they kept picking on each other. Joe would pick on Trump. He would say Trump's a terrible human being, basically. And then Trump was like, well, you've been in office for 47 years and you voted for segregation. I don't think he actually brought up that specifically, but he brought up the fact that Joe Biden hadn't been exactly the most unracist human being. And so there was, they were talking about racism and they were talking about all these things that weren't in the solution so much. And at the same time, so it put Trump on the defensive, and I think that made him angry because he was like, look, we can be talking about all this shit or we can talk about what really matters, And so when he kept trying to get Joe to talk about what mattered, Joe wouldn't talk about it. And instead, he would change the subject and talk about the script that the mainstream media narrative wanted to have in the debate. So it wasn't a fair debate by any means. It wasn't, it was slanted, right? And I don't appreciate that. Like, as an American, I want to know, like, where you stand on certain issues, right? If I'm going to be political, if I'm going to, I would like to know. Oh, and then Biden was saying something about white supremacy and like the Proud Boys or, whatever, these horrible militia groups, when we have Antifa destroying my city. And he's like, Antifa's just an idea, or Antifa's not a real thing. Well, I live in Portland, Mr. Biden. It's a real thing. You might want to try coming to Portland and checking it out for yourself. How's that, Mr. Democrat? I don't know, man. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I used to be sort of liberal. I guess I wouldn't classify myself as anything political other than I believe in the Constitution. And I believe that those things were implemented and put in place for a reason, and that they are core values that the founding fathers had that created this country, and that maybe we should stick to that if we're going to live here. And if we're not, we can move out somewhere else. We can go away. We don't have to live in the United States. We can figure out how to live somewhere else. But at this point, I guarantee you that the rest of the world doesn't want Americans in their country. We've notched that right off the fucking thing. There's no way that people want Americans in their country at this point. Unless they have absolute compassion for us and take us in as fucking refugees. But I can't say that because even in the situation that we're in, we are so much more privileged than most countries, and people here just do not realize how good they have it. They really don't. I've lived in other countries. I've lived all over the world. I've seen the poor countries. I've seen third world countries. I've seen what happens in third world countries. In our cities, our democratic cities, Los Angeles is starting to look like a third world country right now. It's heartbreaking. We need to pay attention to what these people are doing. We can't make it about one person or another person. We need to look at the fundamental flaws of the system itself that is broken, that was designed to be broken, that is fucking us right now. And the Constitution is not that. The Constitution is a formidable establishment of things that actually work, that our country was actually founded on. And yeah, you could bring in the position of racism and all those other things. That was a very different time in history when these rebels from England basically broke away and decided to create their own system. Now, what's important about this is that the system that they created was freedom for everyone. Man, woman, and child. Everyone. It's a basis. It's not the end-all, be-all, but it's definitely a core foundational preservational reserve that we can count upon. But because there's been all of these changes to the Constitution behind closed doors in Congress, there's all kinds of fucked up shit in there. And then we have somebody coming in to try to dismantle the crookedness that has taken place in the last 26 to 30 years of government. And of course they're going to be attacking, because he's not a politician. He's never been a politician. He's a businessman. And politicians take likely to businessmen coming in and changing the game, changing their system that they created to their advantage, not to ours. So here Trump is super pissed off, defensive, calling Biden out, calling out all the fucking corruptness, and getting cut off and saying that he can't say what he's saying and that he has 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. It's like, I would have annihilated Joe Biden, dude. I would have fucking ripped him a new fucking asshole. I'm not even kidding you. And I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, but that guy is corrupt. Straight up. I'm sorry. You can see it in his eyes. What's there? He doesn't even look like a real person. Don't even get me started with that. But wow. So even though he did a better job at keeping his composure and appealing to the American people, he was lying and calling Trump a liar. And it was just gross. Like, I have no respect for that. No respect for that. I have respect for the fact that someone's authentic and they're pissed and they're speaking truth. I have more respect for that than somebody who's lying and just trying to defamate someone else's character when somebody else is calling their character out. Just saying. I don't know, man. Like, for me, it's really hard because it was so toxic. It was really hard to watch. And it was clear to me that there had been a threat or he found out something and he was super angry and he was holding it in and he couldn't speak to what it was, right? And here he is running the country, and then he's doing a debate at like 9 o'clock at night, you know? Like, the guy's running 24/7, and they're telling him he's doing a horrible job when he brought back the economy. He has done so many things. Oh my God, I can't even list the things that he's done. He's done more in 3.5 years than any president has done in 30, at least, if not longer. For real. And anybody who hasn't done the research, You need to go do the research. You need to see what he's been doing, because he's been outperforming everybody in terms of, excuse me, actual real implementations of things that actually change the fabric of existence in a good way, for the better, for the positive. And not all the chess, not all the chess pieces are on the game board right now. And people don't understand that. People don't understand that there are so many more pieces on the game board that have to be played. We're not at checkmate. We're not even close to fucking checkmate. So it's really hard for people who don't have any of this information to understand, because they're just getting face value stuff, that's being presented, but they're not actually getting all the details of the information. And if you go and you research, you will find it. It is there. It is all over the internet. All you got to go do is look. You just got to look. You just got to take a minute and go do some research and figure out all the accomplishments, all the good things that have happened, what's true, what's not, and not just take them from mainstream media sources, because all you will get is hatred and fear. When in fact, there's a lot of really good things happening, despite everything that we're going through. And the other thing for me that's just really, really just obnoxious is the states and their politicians, and how certain states are keeping their states under lockdown, while other states are free and open and working and thriving and fun, thriving. And here I am in a state, the entire West Coast has been affected in all these different ways by these corrupt politicians. They're corrupt. All of them. It's really fucking sad to me that we're watching them throw temper tantrums rather than helping the people in their own states, because they're defending themselves against someone because they've been indicted for human trafficking. It's actually real. Do you really think that they would be doing what they're doing and fighting back if it wasn't true? No. No. They would not be going out of their way to make him look bad if it wasn't true. They wouldn't bother. Seriously. The fact that they're blaming somebody in office who's actually trying to prevent further damage from their activities, from the evil, corrupt people behind the scenes, and I'm sorry, but you can call me whatever you want. I don't care if you give me a label. I've been in this a long time. I've been watching what's going on, and I'm always looking for truth and discernment and knowing what's what. Okay? I'm fucking clear about how I feel. I may not always talk about it publicly for good reason. But I know my truth. I know my truth. I know where I stand. And I invite you to do the same thing. Stand in your truth. But don't stand in the truth that you think is because somebody told you that. Go do the research and find out for yourself, and then stand in your truth when you are solid that you know what's going on. And not a moment before that. If you're only looking for bad things about Trump, or you're only looking for bad things about Biden, that's all you're going to find. But if you can come into your center and look at all the levels of what's playing out in our reality, multidimensionally and beyond, all the levels, and be willing to do the research to find out what's what, you'll find it. I sure did. It's not easy. It's not hard to find. I mean, it's all right there. Seriously, it's all right there. So, okay, the other thing I wanted to mention to you guys is that in actuality, in the beginning of this year, on January 12th, the Saturn-Pluto conjunction happened, right? And Uluru connected the umbilical cord of the earth to the sun. Okay, I was in ceremony for 7 hours with the Aboriginals, the original people from Australia, and I was in ceremony here, but I was connected telepathically. I had a group of people on a Zoom call, and we were in ceremony. That pregnancy, that birthing process is what we are in right now. And on December 21st, 2020, is the actual delivery, in my opinion, of this golden age of Gaia and this new Earth frequency. So what we're experiencing right now is the sloughing off of all the darkness, and anything that is not truth is being revealed. From whatever side, you're going to find it. It's going to be there. So just hang tight, man. We're in the tunnel. We're in the birthing process. We're in the birthing canal, if you will. And we need to get in touch with our bodies. And like a big part of what I feel is going on with people in terms of abortion and Roe versus Wade and the Supreme Court justice and all of that stuff is because we are not listening to our inner core selves in terms of our own relationship with our bodies and how we treat them. If we were doing that, it wouldn't be pro-life or pro-choice. It would be a merging of the two, right? It would be pro-life unless certain circumstances and using discernment. There are reasons, or it'd be pro-choice unless, like there would be a solution that worked for everybody. And we have to start thinking that way, because it's like the way things have been, they've been this way or that way, this side or that side. Well, we're not there anymore. We have to get out of the bipartisan idea that it's flip or flop. We need to come together and unify, and whatever laws are made moving forward need to be in the benefit of everyone concerned, not just one way or the other. Like that doesn't work. Clearly that doesn't work, right? And this is a topic, and that's an issue for me that is highly intense because of what I have personally gone through, which I will not speak publicly about. You can ask me personally if you like to know my experience with that, but it's heavy, and it's not something that's easy for me to talk about. And at some point, it will be written, or at some point it will be expressed. If you'd like to know personally how I feel about all of that, I'm happy to talk to you about it. If it's really that much of a concern for you. However, we have to get out of blaming one candidate or another, because we have to be able to see what's going on outside of the parties, the bipartisan framework. We have to look at all the levels of good and evil that are playing out right now, because there's so many levels behind the scenes that are happening that people are not taking into consideration. And so it's making it very difficult for the candidates to actually be honest, is what I feel. And so there's so many levels there. There's just so many levels there. Oh my God. So many levels. And one of the levels is children. Saving the children, our children, all over the world, with what has become an industry, the most lucrative financial industry in the world, on this planet, and the production of adrenochrome through satanic ritual and the murdering of children and the torturing of children and the breeding of more children. This is not a conspiracy. I'm going to say it again. This is not a conspiracy. I have personal experience in this regard. This is not a conspiracy. It's an ancient science practiced for many years on this planet. It's an ancient ritual to gain power. And vital life energy. Through the torture of someone in their innocence. It's really hard to hear. I lost my innocence at 1.5 years old. Just let that sink in. Just let that sink in for a minute. I've never had it back. This is what we should be talking about. And there are a lot of people involved who are being held accountable for their actions. It's a good thing. It's a really, really good thing. So please, do your research. I invite you to consider the other factors involved here. Okay? I am not a crazy person. Considering what I've been through, I'm very grounded and I'm okay. And I have survived. And I've thrived. There are a lot of us out here. I'm not one, just one person. There are millions of people like me. Millions, if not billions of people. There's a lot of people that have gone through this, that have survived it. Please let that sink in for a minute. Please. This isn't a presidential election. This is an awakening of the entire human race. This is a supernova. And we're in it, and it's not going to stop. So for all of you who have been friends with me for a long time, you know me. I have no reason to lie about my experience. If you're on my channel, if you're on my profile right now, if you're watching me on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, it's because I know you. And if I don't know you, welcome. And thank you for being here. I may not know you personally, but I'm grateful that you're hearing my story. Even if it's very cryptic, it's the most that I can muster without losing my shit right now. So it's got to be enough. Heavy. It's really heavy. What's happening right now? 1 million people, 1 million children were just rescued in Australia from underground tunnels and bases. This is truth. This is truth. This isn't fake. This is inside information that is being brought to the public right now so that you can understand what's really going on. Please take that into consideration. None of this would be happening if we had a different president in office. This person was designed for this job. And I'm deeply grateful for it. Regardless of what you think about this person, orange man bad, megalomaniac, ego, dictator, xenophobe, racist. Nope. Do your research. I'm not here to defend him, but I am here to call out bullshit. Because the truth is important. The fact that people are calling Q a conspiracy is obnoxious to me. It was created in 1962 while JFK, John F. Kennedy, was in office. He created a group to surround him, and they made a plan. You need to do your research so you understand what's really going on. It is calculated down to the minute. It's no joke. All right. I'm going to be reading this book in a few minutes on a different video. Last chapter, called One World Brain. Here we go, folks. I'm actually going to read that and the afterword because it looks like there's an afterword, which is like a page long. We are finalizing the end of this book. It's been a journey. Thank you for being on it with me. I'm going to end this one and start another one. So you can come back if you want. Bye.